I think that whys motivate people and they inspire people. And when they can truly understand why this, why now, why you, they're going to want to take action. And when people hear your story, you definitely want them to be interested in investing. You want them to share the campaign. You want them to introduce you to another investor. And so that clarity of storytelling is absolutely essential.
This is the Angel Next Door podcast, where we will talk about all things angel investing. What it is, who does it, how do we find them, what does it mean to invest in an early stage company? If you have ever wondered how you can affect the change you want to see in the world, then tune in to learn more. In this episode, I'm talking with Maria Springer, founder of Capital Department. Maria reveals practical strategies and surprising truths about raising millions, even if you're new to the process. She shares her journey from Googling how to overcome the fear of asking for money to helping entrepreneurs raise over $200 million. She tells us insightful tips about narrative building, the rise of crowdfunding, and what makes a fundraising campaign truly successful. You'll hear behind-the-scenes stories from breaking WeFunder records to helping companies backed by the top VCs, and find out how community rounds are changing the investment landscape. Enjoy the show.
Maria, welcome to the Angel Next Door podcast.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
I am really excited to hear more about the Capital Department, how it works, what the whole story is, because I keep hearing entrepreneurs talking about it, and they have had some real success in fundraising with your help. So start us off, tell us a little bit about your background, and then how Capital Department came to be.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and in my early 20s, started my first job as an entrepreneur, essentially. And I was the executive director of a social enterprise distributing clean energy technologies into informal settlements across East Africa. And at the time, I had to raise money. And I can tell you, I did not start this organization to become an expert fundraiser, but it required it. And so as the executive director, I had to ask for money, and I was overwhelmed by it. I literally used to Google how to overcome the fear of asking for money. And I can tell you there was not a lot about it. Ultimately, when you realize that your co-founder is depending on you, that your team is depending on you, and that the impact you're hoping to make is at stake, you have to get real with yourself in a sense and realize that it's not about you. And your fear of asking for money is not as important as the work you're doing. And so I started depersonalizing it, focusing on the pipeline, understanding that if there was a conversion rate, there was going to be an implied rejection rate, and got really good at fundraising. And people started asking me, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I ended up going to get my MBA and thereafter served as chief of staff to a number of YC-backed founders. Together, we raised everything from a pre-seed to a Series C, and it took off from there. And that's why I started Capital Department. We are a fundraising advisory firm. We've helped entrepreneurs raise over $200 million by offering them.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, by helping them with the strategy and the operations of their raises. And really excited lately about this idea of community rounds, or the idea of raising money from lots of retail investors and getting them access to some of the best private market deals in the US.
Amazing. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us, you have a founder that comes to you and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to fundraise. I've never raised money before. I haven't taken in any money yet. What's the first thing that you do with them?
Yeah. So typically we're working with folks that have already raised a bit of money, but recently a founder approached us, or a set of founders approached us, and they had not taken in any outside equity, but they had grown their business to over 100 million in cumulative revenue in 4 years. And so we were thrilled to work with them because that's the kind of deal you want to bring to retail investors. And so what we do is we put together a deal team, and we work directly with the founders to define their fundraise objectives. Typically, we're raising anywhere between 1 and 5 million. We'll put together an entire strategy for the raise, and then we'll work with them week over week to ensure they're hitting their fundraising goals, essentially. We're basically a fractional fundraising team to keep founders on track.
Okay. So tell us a little more about how you do that.
Yeah. So for one, I think narrative is so important. You can have an exceptional company and be a horrible storyteller. And something I used to get really frustrated about as a young entrepreneur is someone can have a mediocre company, but be an exceptional storyteller.
That's so true. Yes.
So we love working with our founders on getting them to craft a story that they're proud to talk about and proud to market, so to speak. And so we work really hard on that pitch deck. And I've heard you talk about this before, but it's so critical that they nail that problem statement.
Yes.
Not only because that's essential to a good company, but also so people care.
Right.
If people don't care about what you're doing, they're just going to move on to the next thing.
That's right.
So we work really hard on the narrative, and then we basically build a pipeline so that we can understand how we might get to 5 million raised. And that work is really fun and really tough. And we're looking at who a founder has in their network, but then also who we can get them to add to their network through either investor events, through angel networks, through introductions to other founders who can make introductions to investors. And we've just got that process down packed in order to ensure that every founder has access to a pipeline.
Wow, that's great. And then do some people, they're raising money like just straight up, or are they using crowdfunding, or what is there a combination, or what's the story?
Yeah, so I think in 2021, one of our YC-backed founders approached me and was like, Maria, I want to raise a round on WeFunder. And I was very skeptical. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Why would we do that? And she was like, no, I think it's going to be fantastic. And we ended up raising over $4 million in the course of a few months.
Oh.
And that was faster than any venture round I had ever put together. And I was like, wait a second, there's something here. And so then the WeFunder team reached out and was like, would you like to work on another deal? And I said, yes. We ended up raising over $5.6 million for that deal. And so from there, we just started continuing to work on community rounds. There's so much potential here, and I'm really excited about it.
So most of the people that you're working with, then they're doing it through crowdfunding?
Yes.
Okay. And so what are some of the secrets
of crowdfunding? I think number one is putting together an excellent deal. I think part of the reason there's so much hesitancy around crowdfunding is because there's this conception, or misconception, I should say, that you only raise money on crowdfunding because you have to. And I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true at all. So for instance, we are working with best-in-class founders. We're currently working on a deal that is backed by tier 1 VCs like Lux Capital and Founders Fund, and opening it up to their community to invest on the platform and have access on the exact same terms as those institutional funds. And to me, that's really exciting. And the other point that I think is a misconception is that there is power in community. I think some of the most amazing companies are built through and on community. And so if you are able to turn your customers and your fans into investors, they're going to be that much more excited to talk about you, to refer you to friends, to et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I totally agree. Back when crowdfunding first came out, so keep in mind 2016 was when the first people were allowed to actually raise on a crowdfunding platform, but it was still so new, and just figuring out all of the compliance. And I know WeFunder was very early in the game. Justin Renfrew's been on the podcast before, and yeah, he's awesome. And so watching the progression of what happened, especially like in the first 5 years or even before COVID, like where people were still not sure, a lot of angels were like, look at all the people you're going to end up having on your cap table. Well, we know that's not really how it works nowadays. And of course, the ones who have done it well, WeFunder, Start Engine, Republic, the three biggies, they're all out there, making it work, and they figured it out. And I've had the CEO of Start Engine, CEO of Republic on the podcast too, talking about just how it has gotten better for founders. It is being looked at in a much more respectful way to VCs, and it is like a bridge. And to your point about like finding customers and finding customers who can be investors, and even vice versa, you end up like, in some cases, I've heard people say, no, you should go do a crowdfunding campaign before you do this, just so that you can prove out your go-to-market strategy, all of those things, and make sure that you have the right customers, right?
Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And what's fascinating is that actually VCs are coming to us with their portfolio deals now.
Wow. Okay. Yes, definitely full circle. Tell us a little bit more about what type of company does really well with crowdfunding. Can any company do it, or does it really have to be like a specific thing?
So I think just about any company can raise money through these platforms. I think there are obviously some regulatory implications about any certain cannabis companies and whatnot, but otherwise, I think that there are just about any company can raise. And at Capital Department, we're focused on working with incredibly impressive and good deals, right? Not only do we want to ensure that we're working with fantastic founders who can execute and scale their companies, but we're also wanting to work on these deals so that retail investors that are investing on these platforms have that opportunity. So for us, it's not just about opening access to capital, but it's ensuring that also means that retail investors are getting access to the best deals. So for us, that could be biotechnology, AI, marketplaces, healthcare, health tech, and so forth. Yeah.
And are you seeing a lot of AI deals? I feel like that's like, of course, the hot topic right now.
I think some venture investors are arguing that every deal is an AI deal at this point.
No, yeah, true.
So I guess in that sense, every deal that we work on is an AI deal, but like pure AI plays, we are working on one right now. And I think it's exciting because the founders, I want to capitalize his company in a different way. He has a track record of raising VC, and he's really interested in building community around the deal.
Oh, I love that. Wow. Yeah, I know Dr. Liz Claiborne of NasoClip has been on the podcast before, and she actually talked about Capital Department. And I had not, at the time, that was a while ago that she was on, but I had not heard of Capital Department before. Is there a way then that people can know what deals you're working on, or are you guys in the background?
First of all, I love Dr. Liz Claiborne. She is just a powerhouse. And every time I talk to her, I feel like I can run through walls because of all of her energy and optimism and enthusiasm and ability to execute. But right now, we're really lucky. We are a small team, and our customers are referring us to other deals, and that's how they find out about us as of now. We're not really outside looking for new deals all the time just because we're growing ourselves, but would love to, of course, talk to anybody that's interested. But I think that's how people find us. And we're really lucky to have so much referrals from our existing customers. And I think, what more could you want?
Yeah, I know. So you actually just charge a flat fee, right? It's not a percent of anything, or it isn't necessarily determined by something. You just a flat fee and you get all the services.
Yeah, exactly. What's really important to us at Capital Department is that we're super founder friendly and founder centric. So we charge a monthly retainer. Everybody that's working with us that's being onboarded is on the same retainer. We know founders talk, and that's really important to us. But also it's because we're doing so much work along the way, right? So if we're making tweaks to a narrative, and then after the raise, we'll go to the customer's website and we'll see their website reflects that. And so we're really creating a lot of value for companies beyond just the capital in terms of building community, building awareness. One of our customers said it's the highest ROI marketing campaign she's ever launched. So there's a lot of value in what we do.
Wow, that's amazing. And then would people know if they were on a crowdfunding site and they had been working with you? Would they know that was the case, or you're in the background just helping with all the good things?
I think we put the founders first and we let them shine. And I think that's the way it should be, because we are powering founder success. And that's a huge privilege, and we're happy to do that. So we don't really put our name on any of the materials or on any of the websites, but I can say that in the US last month, we worked on 3 of the top 10 deals in Reg CF.
Wow, that's great. So you're basically taking them like from the beginning. Hey, let's make sure you have the right materials, your branding is right, your messaging is right, the way that you're talking about the company, where your customers see you, all of those things before you would even think about, okay, now we're going to go out and ask for money.
Correct. You have to. I think it's so critical that you're super organized so that when you ask for money, you know what you're going to do when the call's over. And you know what you're going to do when someone doesn't respond to you. And if it's been a week and they haven't responded, you know what you're going to do. And so we really plan that all out well in advance. And we manage the entire raise in a project management software. We're talking to our CEOs every day in and day out on Slack. We really are an extension of their team to ensure that they're set up for success.
I love that. Dia Bondi was just on the podcast not that long ago, and she went to auctioneering school. So she has all of these philosophies about getting to the final no is actually the best, because then you know where the yes is. Oh, totally. At first I was like, oh my gosh, what a concept. And then I was like, yeah, duh. But I never thought of it like, it's just so interesting. But she says the same thing about you have to have all of your ducks in a row before you're going to go out and make the ask, because you have to know what's going to happen when you get to the point where somebody does say yes.
Couldn't agree more. One of the early mistakes I made as a young and timid and entrepreneur was that I did have someone say yes to me after preparing for the meeting forever, and I didn't follow up. And I was like, when are they going to send the money? And these are simple administrative things, but they can be psychological. They can require headspace. You have to know what to say and how to say it. And these are the things that we help founders with, so they don't have to make the mistakes I've made.
Yeah. And the one thing I do like about all the regulation around Reg CF is that you do have to have everything disclosed. And so I think that really does help founders to get organized from the beginning. You really can't put up a crowdfunding campaign without going through all those. SEC make sure that you have disclosed everything so that every potential investor has access to the same information, which I absolutely love. And then I love how every question has to actually go through the platform as well, so that you can see how the team, the management team, maybe it's just the CEO, but it could be the whole management team, are responding to the questions that are being asked. And you as the potential investor can go and look and peruse what's being said.
I love it too. I think transparency in the capital markets is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I just think that's a good way to at least get them started, so that when it is time to actually say, okay, yes, I'm going to invest, then the retail investors know what's out there, what has to be done.
Yeah. Any
cool stories of companies that have been raising recently?
Absolutely. So one of our customers just closed, and they talk about us publicly as well, so I guess we can share the love, is a YC-backed company called Pirouette. They are making injections as easy as pushing a button. So they're actually reinventing needles and shots as we know them.
Oh my gosh.
They're now a circular disc that you can just press down and then it's done, to address the fear of needles, make it more accessible for little kids who might have peanut allergies and need to carry it around, et cetera. And we're really proud that they ended up being the biggest Reg CF round in WeFunder history, beating out Substack. And that was lovely. That was a huge win, because they are a company that is, gearing up to go through the full FDA clearance process. So we were able to build a community of people who are impacted by the issues that they hope to address, like allergies or overdoses and so forth. And people rallied around them. And it was just so powerful to see the community.
That is great. Wow. And they actually raised more money than Substack. Interesting.
I know. I like to say that. It was only a little bit more, but I think that just shows you that you don't have to be Substack to raise a lot of money in a community round. If you're a great storyteller and you put yourself out there and you give retail investors access to high quality, well-structured deals.
Mm-hmm. So what's one tip that you can give entrepreneurs for how to tell their story?
Oh, I love Reid Hoffman's framework. Why this? Why now? Why you? I think that whys motivate people and they inspire people. And when they can truly understand why this, why now, why you, they're going to want to take action. And when people hear your story, you definitely want them to you want them to be interested in investing. You want them to share the campaign. You want them to introduce you to another investor. And so that clarity of storytelling is absolutely essential.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Maria, this has been great. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can find us at Capital DEPT. So that's short for department, capitaldept.com.
Excellent. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes. Well, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Marcia. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. To connect with me, visit my website at marciadawood.com. And please subscribe, follow, and leave a review. It helps the podcast get seen by more people. And remember, you can also find the Angel Next Door podcast on YouTube too. And if you're looking to learn more about investing in the changes you want to see in the world, sign up for Ann and Bill Payne's ACA Angel University classes. Go to theangelcapitalassociation.org, all one word, to find out the schedule. And classes are now available on demand. Many classes are offered, everything from angel investing basics, which include fundamentals, risk, due diligence, term sheets, valuations, returns and portfolio strategy, and even a class on group formation. There's even a deeper dive where you can get advanced classes, including capitalization tables, startup boards, and exit strategies. If you're not already a member of the Angel Capital Association, you can become one for a low price that will give you unparalleled access to discounts, free webinars with a huge archive of content, networking opportunities, and much more. We'd love to have you join us. All content for this website is informational and not intended to serve as legal, tax, accounting, or investing advice. While Marcia, that's me, does serve on the SEC Small Business Capital Formation Advisory Committee, my views are my own and not the views of the SEC or my fellow colleagues on the committee. Our speakers and hosts are thoughtfully selected for their educational value, but their opinions are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the host, me, or the Angel Capital Association, and neither specifically endorse the use of presenters' products or services. Listeners of the podcast should consult their own tax, investing, legal, or accounting advisors before making important financial decisions. All warranties, including accuracy, completeness, and suitability for specific purpose, are disclaimed.